Welcome everyone to today's live stream, episode 14 of our Starfield gameplay series. I'm Commander Jorval and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So I don't think we do. We'll talk about one admin note here. If you watched the last stream, either on YouTube or you were here to see it in person, at the end of that live stream, you saw a bunch of pop-ups from the game telling me that I was running out of save game space. And it was not going to be able to save my game. And it wanted me to delete some in the meantime. And this is a problem on every platform right now. In slightly different ways. The PC version plays through Xbox Game Pass. Even if you don't have Game Pass, it uses the architecture behind Xbox Game Pass, or behind Microsoft Game Pass, to upload your saves from your game to the cloud. If you play on Xbox, it does the same thing, and this is because of their play on the go functionality, meaning you can play the game here on PC, it'll upload your saves, you can go somewhere else and play it on a laptop and sync those saves down to that laptop and play it somewhere else. All of that sort of stuff. Same thing with Xbox. Allows you to go somewhere else, load your profile onto another Xbox and play there. Steam does the same thing. Steam will automatically upload your saves. However, you can disable that functionality inside Steam. The difference with the PC version of it is that you can't do that if you're playing through Game Pass. It will always upload your saves. There's no way to turn that off. And you have a limit on the cloud of how much space your saves are allowed to take, and that is 1 gigabyte of space. And with Starfield, you quickly run out of that space. So what you have to do occasionally is find your Starfield save folder on your PC, which is an adventure in and of itself if you've never done it before. You take that folder, you copy everything into a separate location so that you have it backed up, and then you open up the game, you open up the load menu, and you start manually deleting all of the saves. You can't just delete folders and that sort of stuff out of that save folder. It doesn't work that way. I'm not going to go into the depth of it, but you physically have to go into the game here, go into load, and manually delete each and every save, so that then it will sync that up to the cloud again, and all that space will have freed up. While you still have a physical backup copy on your computer, that then at some point, if you want to go back and load that section of saves, you can. You can just delete everything out of your save game folder, copy the entire thing, including the database text file in there, and start your game, and all your old saves will be there. So you're going to see that several times probably throughout this playthrough. I do have 2 playthroughs going. I have my personal playthrough as well as the stream playthrough. So that save file is going to overload quite a bit. There's not a whole lot of way for me to to find out how much that is and how close I am to doing it, but I'll try my best to keep things cleaned out so we don't run into that issue on stream. But just be aware we might have to do it. So one of the downfalls of not playing through Steam, I try not to play through Steam for most of my games. I try to get standalone installers for most of my games. And this is one of the downfalls from it as a Microsoft exclusive game. me going through and having to play it this way means that I can't shut any of that off. So we'll just have to deal with that as we go. So on our recap, last week we ended up spending all of our skill points to level up our weapon engineering skill. And that's all because we are now getting to a point where the mods that we put on our weapons and our spacesuits are going to help us keep up with the level of enemies that we're going to be encountering, is basically how it works. And to add those skill points in there, it took 4 skill points. We are now completely out of skill points, and the only way to get skill points in this game is to level up. And what we're going to focus on is a way to do that leveling up quickly. And that's through the building of outposts. So we'll jump in here real quick, talk about a few things, and then we will head out and start looking for a place to put up a simple outpost that we can just use for leveling up. Okay, so at the end of last stream, you'll remember our weapon engineering is currently maxed out rank 4. You can see we don't have any skill points left anymore, and we want to start leveling up spacesuit design as well as outpost engineering, and all of those are going to take skill points, and we need to get levels to do that. Once we unlock all of the possible levels in spacesuit design here, and we don't have to level up rank 4 necessarily. All of the highest level mods you can get are unlocked at rank 3 here. But once we unlock the highest level of mods for both our spacesuit and our weapons, then we can go over here and begin researching. Now, the research projects here, we talked about this briefly, but these here lead you into, these require materials, but then you can see that they lead you into a Barrel Mods 2 research tree. Well, Barrel Mods 2 and then 3 and that sort of stuff higher up require more levels of weapon engineering unlocked to be able to research them and then craft them. So by getting all of our levels done and all of our skill points put into weapon engineering, now when we research Barrel Mods 1 and it takes us to Barrel Mods 2, we don't have to spend time leveling up to be able to research Barrel Mods 2 because it requires weapon engineering level 2. We've already got all of that, and we can just go straight into researching Barrel Mods 2. It's the same thing for all of these other things here. If you unlocked the highest level of those upgrades first, then you can just concentrate on researching everything all at once. And you can see up there at the top the required skills. So none. Here for Muzzle Mods 1, to research this you need Weapon Engineering 1. For Magazine and Battery Mods you need rank 2. And for Receiver Mods you need rank 3. And then there's going to be more that once we go through these are going to require rank 4. So we've gotten all of those out of the way already. But now we want to do the same thing for spacesuits, and to do that we need to level up, and one of the quickest ways to do that is to set up an outpost. Now we have dropped all of our materials in here into this box before we had started our crafting of our weapon mods to be able to swap those back and forth so we could level up, get the prerequisites to level up our weapon engineering. Well, now we're going to utilize these items that are in here to set up an outpost. How much you need of any of these particular items entirely depends on how complex you want your outpost to be. Now, the main quick and easy way to set things up to level up is by the crafting of adaptive frames. Adaptive frames require iron and aluminum, which means that you need to have iron and aluminum extractors to be able to pull those things out of the ground. You need to have some sort of power system to power those extractors. The more extractors you have, the more power you're going to need for them. And you're going to need some sort of solid storage to put those resources in when they come out of the extractors so that you can then use them in the crafting in your outpost. You are also going to need an industrial workbench. That is the item that allows you to craft the adaptive frames, and it makes it a bit easier if you have a bed that is not in your ship. That way you don't have to run back to your ship to get into bed to pass time. You can do it right next to your outpost and save that walking around time. So those two extractors for iron and aluminum, the solar arrays are one of the cheapest power supplies that you can get for it. Then an industrial workbench and a bed. Now, the planet that I go to, I normally have the options to grab some additional things, specifically helium-3. Helium-3 is a necessary resource if you plan on taking the resources from that outpost and shipping them to a different star system. Helium-3 is what is used to power the Cargo Link Interstellar module that allows ships to come in and pick up materials and transfer them to a different star system. If you're inside the same star system, you don't have to do one of those. You don't need helium-3 for it. But if you're trying to send all these materials to a main base somewhere or something like that, then you're going to need helium-3 to do it. And that means you're going to need to find need a helium-3 extractor and gas storage, which is different from solid storage. So I tend to focus on those three things: iron, aluminum, and helium-3 for a couple of reasons, the first of which I just explained. So to do some of this stuff, I'm going to pick up some items here before we go. Now, like I say, this list is going to vary. The actual numbers you're going to need are going to vary based upon how many extractors you need, how much storage you want to build, and what types of extractors and storage you need to do. So these numbers are just for my planning purposes. You don't have to take all of these things with you. You can go out with a bare minimum, find out once you find a site how many resources it's going to need to fill up the different types of things on that site, and then come back and do it. You can build your outpost in pieces. If you only have enough for 2 extractors, but there's space for 4, you can fly back to another system, pick up those resources, and fly back. I'm just going to plan a little bit ahead for mine so that I can take as much as possible out there now, so I don't have to make a whole bunch of trips back and forth. So to do that, I'm going to start looking at some things, and here's beryllium. This is one of them. I have 39 beryllium. I'm going to take all of those. I might actually need up to 40, depending upon what I find and how many extractors I need, but for now that's more than enough to get me started. Aluminum, I have 62. I'm going to need a lot more aluminum than that. I can get started with 62 without a problem, and then have my mining set up get me more aluminum though. So that's a benefit from this. It takes aluminum to be able to craft your extractors, but you can use some of it here to craft some extractors, set them to working, and then get more aluminum as you go. So I'm going to take all the aluminum I have here, I'm probably going to need over a couple of hundred of that, but again, I can mine it when I'm there. So copper is here. I've got 24. I'm going to need a lot more copper, and I can't mine copper at the planet that I'm going to. So I'm going to try and get another 110 or so copper. And then iron, I've got 20. I'm going to need a lot more iron than that. But again, I can start some of this. I'm probably going to buy some iron before I leave. That's a pretty small amount. But again, I can mine iron when I'm there. I'm going to need just a couple of lead. Not very much. Then I'm going to need 6 titanium. So I'm going to pick up 2 more titanium before I leave. And last is tungsten. I've got 47. I can't mine this where I'm going. So I'm going to pick up another 11 or so tungsten before I go. Okay, and I think that gets me all of my... Oh. One more is nickel. Again, can't mine nickel where I'm at. So I'm going to pick up another 16 or so of those. And that's all of my minerals that I'm going to need. The rest of the stuff here is really for quality of life features, and that is fiber. I'm going to need 6 of this. This is for beds. I'm going to make 3 beds here, and that's because I'm going to drop 2 of my crew members off at this outpost. So I want them to have separate beds other than mine. So that's why I'm going to craft 3 of them. I'm going to need sealant, and any of these sealants work, but I'm going to take just 3 of these. The sealant is for an outpost building that I'm going to make. And then I'm going to need adaptive frames. Now again, I can craft adaptive frames when I get there. The adaptive frames are used for storage. So you can, again, set up just a little bit of storage to start with, start your mining going, and then when you get the iron and aluminum, you can craft more adaptive frames when you're on site. So I'm not going to buy any more of these. I'm just going to keep however many I have here. Okay, now this is going to quickly overload me here. But again, that doesn't really matter. So in our inventory, you can see we're all overloaded here. And these are the resources that I picked up. Okay, you can pause this and go through these, but it'd be best to wait until I fill up on some more of these items so that you can get a full list of what we're looking for here. So to try and fill out the remainder of this list, again, it doesn't really matter that I'm overloaded. Okay, we are going to head to UC Distribution.
Mark my words.
To pick up more items.
This space is
Okay, and there's UC Distribution right there in the Mass District. And again, Like I've said before, it doesn't really matter if you start running out of oxygen and you take damage. It's not going to kill you. It's just going to drop your health down to 10%.
We're finally back with our son. That's all that matters.
Hey, Em, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I
Really
did.
makes the
Had
distribution
family
center
come in
tip-top
unexpectedly, but
Welcome to UC Distribution.
yeah, had a
Something I can do
had a
for
good
you?
time. So I'm looking forward to getting back into
I hope we have what you need.
Baldur's Gate 3 this weekend. So thanks for understanding about all of that. I certainly appreciate it. So here, while we're here, we're just going to pick up some other things that we need. We're going to need a lot more aluminum, but again, we don't have to buy this. We definitely need more copper. So 23. So we now need something like 90 more. Going to pick up. We don't have any iron in here. We do have nickel. We'll just pick up the rest of those. We only needed 16, but we'll pick up the rest. There's no tungsten or titanium in here either.
Right. Come back if you
So
need
we're going to
something
go
else.
right back here. We're going to sit and we're going to rest. And let that let the inventory come back. Now you need to rest for 48 hours. The good thing about being here is that if you rest for 24 local hours, it's 50 hours universal time, which is more than 48. So you can't rest 23, that's 5 minutes short. But if you rest 24, then it will reset their inventory. So you only have to do this once instead of multiple times, or at least twice on other planets that are a 1-to-1 time ratio. And this will quickly reset the inventory, and you can go back in and check and see if there's more that you can pick up. So, like I say, for most of the big ticket items, iron and aluminum, we don't need to get a whole lot on them. We can mine it there, but copper is one of those things that you're going to need quite a bit of. And this is just a good place to get it before you head out. If we can pick up some tungsten, beryllium, and titanium in small quantities, that would certainly be a big help for us.
I'm pleased to report that our stocks are... Welcome to UC Distribution. Oh, well, certainly.
Okay, so there's another 23 copper. So now we're down to 67 or so that we need. Let's look and see if we have any aluminum in here. We do. See if we have any iron. We do. Do we have any beryllium? We do. We only needed one more, but I'll just buy all of those. Doesn't matter. Do we have any titanium? We do. We needed two more titanium. Again, the titanium is just for a building that I'm going to build. You don't need it. But I always build something for it. And then... So, sorry, I'm taking notes on my checklist here. And then tungsten. So we needed 11 more tungsten, so that gets all of our tungsten. So now we're just really waiting on copper.
You're always welcome back, if you don't mind a bit of a wait.
So with copper, you normally get 20 to 25 per inventory cycle. So with this rate, I'm going to need 3 more times going through this to get how much copper I need. copper is utilized for solar arrays, which is the big usage that we're going to need for them. They're also used for gas extractors, alkanes, helium-3, that sort of stuff. You also need copper. And then the storage for that gas also needs copper. So we are going to be looking for helium-3 here. We might need alkanes or something else in a gaseous form. We might have that available at our outpost, so we're going to stock up on as much copper as we need for that eventuality, just in case.
I'm afraid, due to recent legislative action, I'm no longer able to allocate ships. I can, however, deal in general goods. Welcome to UC Distribution. I hope we
Okay,
have
so
what
now
you
we're
need.
really just looking for copper. So another 22. So that puts us down to 45 that are needed. Whoops. Hate that being there. I need to just remove that key.
Back to it then.
That key bind, if it is a key bind. Okay, so we should just be able to wait 2 more times here, and we'll probably come up with enough copper to finish this off. Now, as a preface, I guess while we're waiting here, I can talk about planet selection. So, when you're using your outpost to level up, the materials that you need to craft adaptive frames come from the extractors. The extractors are only able to extract X amount of material per hour. So the longer that you can rest in the shorter amount of time, the quicker you can, in real time, gain those materials to be able to craft more adaptive frames. So finding a planet that has a high time dilation
I hope we have what you need.
is always useful. And so that then you can just rest in your bed for a small amount of time and come out the other side with a whole lot of materials in your storage units that you can then craft. However, all that does is speed up how fast you can level. Now, you can take this to absurd lengths. There are 1,000 clickbaity YouTube thumbnails that you can go search that will tell you about 100 levels in 3 hours and 55,000 XP per hour and all this other sort of stuff. And feel free to go do that. Content creators have come up with some amazing ways to gain XP here. This live stream, we are not going to be exploring the absolute bestest, most OP way to level up. We're just not going to do that. We are going to go to a planet that is good, in my opinion. It might not necessarily be the best out of all of it. And we're going to set up a basic outpost. We're not going to try and set up the ultimate Uber outpost for leveling up using crafting. That's not what we're here for. So if you are looking for that, I'm sorry. You are going to be disappointed with what we're doing here. So I will give you an outpost that's going to work. It's going to be easy to set up, and it's going to be in a location which I think is good. That does not mean that it is the best of all best outposts that you can ever have. So we are not going to be going for that. So now that we've picked up all of our copper and we've got all of our other items in storage, I will quickly open up my inventory, and you can kind of see where we are. So aluminum, we're probably a little short on what I think we're going to need, but we'll be able to mine that when we're there. Beryllium, this is more than what we need. We're only going to need maybe 40 or so. Copper, we needed 136. We've come up with 100 at the most for my setup. We've got 137, which is fine. Fiber, 6 is exactly what we need. Iron, we're a little short. We need 120 iron, but again, at the max. But again, we can mine that when we're there. 2 lead is exactly what we need. We need 24 nickel. We've got 29. We need exactly 3 sealant, exactly 6 titanium, and we needed 58 tungsten at the most, and we've got 70. So that should be a list of what we're going to be using to set up this outpost. And again, we might be overkill on some of these because we might not need all of these extractors or storage boxes, depending upon what we find at the location we're going to go. All right. So now we'll head over to our ship, and again, we're walking to it because we're overloaded by quite a bit, so we can't fast travel to it. And we will head out to the planet that I use for this, and while we're here, we will quickly talk about the planets, so to speak. The main resources that you need to craft adaptive frames, well, the only resources you need are iron and aluminum. So going to any planet that has both of those things will allow you to do this level up method. I choose planets that also have good time dilation. I choose planets that don't have any fauna, any animals, because I don't want to have to worry about getting attacked by hostile animals while I'm working around my outpost. And I choose planets that are somewhat near me. I don't want to have to go gallivanting all the way across the galaxy just to find a planet that has my outpost on it. So, where do you go? Well, this is a much debated thing. So, the first, and arguably one of the most popular, is Androphon. Androphon here has a time dilation. It's not great compared to some of the other locations that you have, but Androphon has has iron and aluminum in abundance. So you're able to find iron, aluminum. You're also able to find helium-3, which again is very useful for shipping things to different star systems. And you can find beryllium, which is a rare resource, and europium, which is an exotic resource. And those you can sell if you collect them. Europium is the, I think, 3rd highest selling exotic mineral in the game. So Androphon is very, very popular amongst the Starfield community here for doing this level up method. The other is in Bessel, which is here. Vessel 3B here, again, has no fauna on it. It has a really good time dilation in that 1 hour of resting is, I think, almost 58 hours of universal time. So you can get your resources back really quickly. It has aluminum and iron. It also has cobalt and platinum, which again is a rare and an exotic resource. It does not have helium-3 though. So you can quickly use this if you're not planning to ship any of those resources anywhere else. You can set up your iron and aluminum extracting here and just use it for leveling up. So it's another good location to use. For me, I use Linnaeus. To get to Linnaeus, you're going to need a little bit of jump range to get there. The only reason it's red for me is because I haven't explored Lenara. So I'm going to jump to Lenara first. Now that we're here, we can jump to Linnaeus. Now, the reasons that I like Linnaeus are, again, once you've upgraded your jump drive on the Star Eagle here and your fuel tanks, it's easy to reach. It's real close to your main location. And Linnaeus 4B is the planet that I use. And if you look at the resources down on the bottom, you can see it's got water, it's got helium-3, it's got aluminum, Fe is iron, it also has lead, and then it has beryllium, which is, again, a rare resource, and then it has terbium, which is an exotic resource, where if you're lucky enough to get your outpost set up, you might be able to mine terbium and use that to sell and gain credits. It also has no fauna. It's a temperate temperature, so I don't have to worry about walking around and getting frostbite or anything like that. It does have a thin atmosphere, which means that when I'm there, there is the possibility during the day, if you're walking around, that you can get some sun-related radiation issues, but it's really not, you know, a problem or anything like that. And, okay, just checking, that was not a pirate that jumped in. So now once I get here, I'm going to hold R to scan the planet. And now all of the resources over here are color-coded. Now, iron, if you hover it over it, you can see matches the color code over here. So iron, aluminum, lead, helium-3, the things, and then water. The things that you don't see are these last 3 items. If you have uncommon, rare, or exotic materials or minerals on your planet, they don't show up as a resource location. You have the possibility of finding them at any location anywhere on the planet. They are randomly spaced out throughout the planet here. So you have a chance of running across them in a bunch of different locations. Right? So don't look for a terbium spot because you're never going to find it. Okay? So now it seems fairly straightforward that if I want iron, I can just land right there and I'm going to find iron. However, I would like to find a place that has both iron and aluminum. I would also prefer to find a spot that has iron, aluminum, and helium-3, which means I'm kind of looking for a junction spot between aluminum, helium-3, and iron. Now, the first thing to realize when you're doing this is that these color codes don't mean a thing when it comes to finding resources on a planet. Okay, it seems counterintuitive that they've color-coded all of this stuff real nicely for you, but now you're telling me that it doesn't mean anything? And yes, that's exactly what I'm telling you. What's important are the biomes that you find these minerals in. So, for instance, if I click here for iron, you can see that is in the hills biome. If I click here for aluminum, that's in the plateau biome. If I click in here for helium-3, that's in the craters biome. So if you start looking at the corners here, the edges, like right here, that is going to say craters, so that is getting helium-3. But then the closer I get out here, that says aluminum, but if I click on it, it still says craters, which is the helium-3 biome. It's not the plateau, which is the aluminum biome. These color codings don't really work. So what I do is I try and find a location that's going to have all three of them together, for instance, like right in here. All right, and then I hide the resources. Okay, now since I'm on the dark side, I can't really see here. But on the light side, if I go here and I hide the resources, you can see there's differences here. So for instance, let's look at this. We have a light colored area here and a dark colored area here. If we show the resources, that's the line between aluminum and lead. Okay, but you can see the actual biome line is here where my mouse is, lead and aluminum. But if I bring the resources back up, you can see that's solidly inside the lead area. All right, so lead is sandy desert. Aluminum is craters. So now if I try and find the junction point between them, there it is. So there's plateau for aluminum. There's sandy desert for lead. Okay. So now you can see that that's solidly in the aluminum area, even though the junction is right underneath my mouse cursor. And that's what's important. It's not where these color codes are. It's what the biome changes are. And this is where, unfortunately, console players are going to have a bit more of a problem. Because on PC, you can move your mouse a pixel at a time and find the junction point between three biomes fairly easily. On console with a controller, you can't do it nearly as easily. So unfortunately, this is just one of those advantages that playing on PC is going to have, but the same concept works on console. So for iron, we're looking for hills. For aluminum, we're looking for plateau. And for helium-3, we're looking for craters. So let's just look around in here. So that's craters. I move my mouse just a little bit. I'm still in craters. There's plateau for aluminum. I moved 1 pixel, still plateau. Still plateau. Now I'm in craters. So this 1 pixel, if I go 1 pixel either way, I'm right at the junction between iron and helium-3. Or between aluminum and helium-3. So now I need to find something that goes to hills that's in that same area. So this is all plateaus. There's hills. Still hills. There's plateau. There's hills, so I'm right at the border between aluminum and iron. And now I'm going to try and go a couple pixels left. I'm at craters. I'm at plateau. I'm at plateau. I'm at hills. So this pixel right here is craters, and then 1 pixel any particular direction, I end up in either hills or plateau. So that location right there should be relatively close to a junction spot between all 3 biomes that I can find: helium-3, aluminum, and iron all together. And that is how you find your landing spot. You can just go out and start randomly dropping, a landing spot like right there, and land and walk around and see if it has your materials. However, knowing how to utilize the biomes by looking at this biome listing here can really help make this search a lot easier. So now that we've got our landing site, we're going to hold X to land here. This is going to illustrate another frustration with the game.
Landing site is sufficient. Taking the ship down.
Okay, and the first thing we're going to do is just get up, because I do not want to be overloaded while I'm walking around here on the surface. So I'm going to go to... So I don't have any resources in the Star Eagle, which is good. I'm going to go to my resources and I'm going to store all of these so that I'm not overloaded. And now I'm going to exit the ship. And you're going to see a couple of things. So first I am going to use and it looks like I'm out of med packs. Oh, I still have some stolen ones. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice when you come out and open up your scanner is that these locations are procedurally generated. These ships landing out here, procedurally generated. So these unknown locations, even if you find this exact same spot on your playthrough, these locations are not going to be the same. Those are randomly, procedurally generated every time that you land at this spot. So don't expect to see those necessarily on yours and take them as markers for finding my exact spot, because they will all be different. The second thing is that we've created a landing area here. If you don't find what you're looking for at this spot and you take off and then you try and get back to this same exact spot, you're going to get landing area after landing area after landing area after, and you're going to have a whole list of a bunch of landing areas that all overlap with each other. And there's no way to delete those. They stay there forever. So on my first playthrough, or on my personal playthrough, I didn't find what I wanted because I didn't know about the biome trick, so I had to land a little bit farther off and land at a new location and explore that. And I've got 4 landing areas with the bottom one that says Outpost on it. And those can't go away. So if you have trouble finding it, you may have a list of all of these here below it. A way to go about doing that is before you actually land is to drop a save file. And that way, if you land, you can explore it. If you don't find it, you can reload. You can remember that spot, kind of offset from it and find a different location so that you only have one landing pad spot instead of multiple ones. So, but again, you can't get rid of waypoints here in the game. So it's just something to kind of deal with. Okay, something to kind of manage. So now we can kind of see a little bit the biome differences that we have. So hills. So these here are hills. Okay, the area that I'm in is craters, and you can tell it's craters because you have these gas pockets everywhere. Out there you can see there's a slightly different color change. That's a plateau. So you can tell that we are at a fairly decent intersection of all of the biomes. So now you need to find a location to put your outpost that has all the minerals in it that you want. There are 2 ways to do that. There's the default way, and then there's the smart way. The default way is to open up your scanner, and you can look around and see here's beryllium on the ground. And you can see the outline of it because you can see the color change. So as I move to the edge, this is a pretty big beryllium deposit, but you can see here's where it ends. Okay, there's nothing out there, there's beryllium here. And you can walk around with your scanner open and look for the different materials. There's a much easier way and better way to go about doing this, and that is by using the outpost marker itself. Okay, so when you're in the scanner, you can see at the bottom, I can press R for an outpost, and it says that I have 8. There's a number 8 beside it. That's because that's the outpost limit that's in the game. You can't have, by default, at the first level of them, you can only have 8 outposts. If you hit the R key, it's going to bring up a marker, this beacon where you can place your outpost. And you can see in the upper left-hand corner, in the radius of this outpost, I have aluminum, beryllium, and water. Hey, Dope Diva, nice to see you. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for being here. Sorry if it was a little late. I was kind of explaining this and wasn't paying attention to chat, but thank you for being here. So the first thing to know about this is that you can drag that outpost way out to a much farther limit than your scanner will reach. Right? And you can drag it all around like this, and you can see that way out there, I'm now going to get helium-3 inside that outpost area. Your outpost has a circular area around it that is your build limit. You're not allowed to build outside of it, so any resources that are inside of that build limit show up in the upper left-hand corner. Right? So this is what you need to do to find your materials, is to keep your outpost beacon open and walk around with your outpost out, your outpost beacon out, and use it to find what materials you have inside your outpost area. Okay, so we haven't found any that have iron. We found a lot of aluminum and helium-3. And I have a feeling we might have been a pixel off on our landing area looking around, because these, I'm now starting to realize, might not be hills. But we'll do a little looking around over here before we say this one isn't going to work. Hills are normally taller than these. Well, no, these might be hills. We just might be getting really unlucky with iron. But normally you find iron fairly quickly when you're next to hills, so... But we'll go over here next to... These look more like the hills I'm used to seeing. So we'll go over here and look around a little bit more. See if we can find any iron. Okay, so this you can tell by the ground is getting away from craters. This is more craters, this ground is more plateau. But we're still right there on the edge because we're still getting aluminum and helium-3. Let's just move up to higher ground and see if we might be able to find iron anywhere. Okay, so we're getting fairly unlucky with iron here. So we might have landed just a little bit off, because that over there is probably much more like what we're looking for. That over there in the distance is, again, probably more of what we're looking for. And I'm just going to do a little bit of movement here, because I'm not entirely sure I want to try and walk all the way over there. This isn't going to be the most exciting gameplay for anybody. No worries. Yeah, Outpost building, especially if you are trying to do it for specific resource extraction, can be intimidating, because the mechanics for it aren't really explained in the game, and that resource map that's shown on the planets, like I talked about earlier, is really just incorrect. It's really not good. So that, adding into the fact that it's not really explained very well, especially if you're trying to use this method for leveling up, is very, very confusing. So I hope I've explained adequately how to find a location on a planet that might have the resources you're looking for. And now we're in the process of trying to find the specific materials in a specific location near your landing site. So we've found aluminum and beryllium. That's good. And these are more like hills. So let's see if we find any iron around here, and if we don't, then we will go back to orbit and we will try to land somewhere different. So we're still finding aluminum and helium-3, which is good. We are just not finding any iron. And you don't have to worry about how far you are away from your ship. There's a reason for that that will become apparent later on. So I'm going to try one more time here. I know I said I wasn't going to do it again, but I'm going to try one more time here as we go. Because I'm right on the biome border between plateau and craters, which is good. I'm finding 2 out of the 3 I want. Just might have landed slightly off to try and find iron. But I'm going to head over there to that mountain range, and we'll take one more look, and then we're going to head to orbit. I promise this time. Shouldn't take us but probably 3 minutes to get over there, is my guess. And we can look off to the sides while you're doing this. And again, like I've talked about in previous streams, make sure you have the alternate key set for jump so that you're getting forward momentum on your boost pack instead of just jumping up straight up. I'm very hopeful about that up there. Okay, so I'm still getting helium-3 and aluminum around here, which is good. And this is what is the unfortunate side of Outpost building. All of these, and like I say, I'm not, when I say this, I'm not trying to bash other content creators, but all of these, there's a lot of clickbait videos out there on YouTube talking about you can mine 7 different resources in this one spot, and you'll be able to level up faster at this spot than anywhere else. And you have to be literally pixel perfect to find that exact spot that they're looking at. You will wander around for hours, landing, taking off, landing again to try and find that spot. And this is probably a good illustration how not to be fooled into thinking that it's just incredibly easy to find a location that has everything that you want in it. It simply isn't. It's a matter of moving around and hunting for the location that is going to get you what you need. And unfortunately, it looks like over here, we're again not finding any iron. So we'll head over here to this set of rocks, and if we don't find anything, then we're going to head back to our ship and head back to orbit. Okay, so there's no iron over here either. So we're going to exit out of our outpost builder. Bring up our scanner. Our Star Eagle is there, so we can fast travel to it.
Outposts firing.
Okay, now that we're up here, this is what I mean by the fact that there's a landing area here now. That landing area doesn't go away. So, if we want to pick a different landing area, that landing area, any of the pixels around it, are now ruined for us. Because we can't pick a new landing area there. One does not exist. Okay? So we've got to start looking in other locations, like maybe in here. So we'll do the same thing. We will start dropping landing areas. That's craters. That's still craters. Still craters. Still craters. So the aluminum here is non-existent. Okay, there's a little plateau I just saw down here. Yeah, see all the way down here? But this should be aluminum. But when you click on it, it's craters. That's helium-3's biome. That's not aluminum. Aluminum's biome is plateau. So this is what I mean. These colors don't necessarily mean much. So here we have hills. Here we still have craters. Volcanic is where you're going to find lead. Craters is helium-3. So again, what should be aluminum is right there. So we can try and look around here. That's aluminum. Okay, that's helium-3. That's right on the border between helium-3 and aluminum. So now if we move off to the side, we can try and find hills. Okay, so right there. So right at hills and craters, that's fine. Hills and craters. That's fine. We want plateau. Okay, so that's aluminum. That's iron. That's still aluminum. We want craters now. Okay, so there. Okay, so there's iron. Iron. That's helium-3. That's iron and helium-3. That's iron. That's aluminum. Okay, so that's helium-3. That pixel's helium-3. That's helium-3. Iron. 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 Helium-3. And aluminum. So that's aluminum. This pixel's iron. That's aluminum. This pixel's helium-3. So we're actually going to start in the aluminum one, and we're going to land here.
Gear looks green. Ready to land.
And this is how it works. This is how it goes. So now here we'll exit, and now you'll be able to clearly see the difference. We're still in night, so it's hard to see. But these type of hills are the iron. So now we're going to pull up our outpost. We're going to start looking around. So there's iron. Okay, looking at our map, north is the little dot on the exterior of the compass. So we need to go that way and that way to get to aluminum and helium-3. So if we're going to go searching a particular direction, we're going to be looking east-northeast to try and find the place where the biomes intersect. Okay, you can see we're getting into craters because we have more of these gas pockets that are out here. And you can see the color changes that happen on the ground. It's much easier to see it during the day. And you do want to stay away from the procedurally generated locations. You can't build next to those. So you want to stay away from them. And I'm just looking around to see if there's a better location to go than here. But I don't think there is. But again, heading toward the east puts us more toward helium-3. Heading to the north puts us more toward aluminum. Because we landed in the iron biome. And I'll be honest with you right now, this is becoming a lot more unlucky than my personal playthrough or my testing has been. So this may seem frustrating for you, but it's even more frustrating for me because of the amount of testing that I did before this, and it was not nearly this difficult. So there's iron all over the place. Okay, so we've got to be getting out of the hills biome here, because there are no hills out there at all. So I'm hopeful that we're going to run into aluminum out here once we get closer to this flat area. Okay, so we've got beryllium that's shown up on our map now. Again, one of those randomly distributed. And now you're getting farther away from hills, so iron disappears from the list. Okay, so got more iron here, and iron's going to have a reddish tint to the ground. It's also got these kind of dark streaks running through it. Well, I don't want to spend my entire stream just running around. I don't. And I've gotten, like I say, this has been unlucky so far. So we're going to head back here and we're going to head off in a different direction. If we don't find anything, then we'll head back to orbit and try it again. But I think I would like to try this direction here. Okay, there doesn't appear to be a whole lot of iron out this direction. Because even if we don't find helium-3, we need to have iron and aluminum. Those are must-haves to make this work. Okay, so we're getting back where there's iron. That's good. Promise you, the first time we find aluminum, we're just dropping this outpost so we can get on with it. Because, yes, this is not the most engaging gameplay you've ever seen on a live stream. I am sympathetic to that fact. So, alkanes are mostly used to craft medical supplies and things like that, so they can be useful. Okay, here we go. We've got iron, aluminum, beryllium. I would prefer to have helium-3. So now that I've found it, I lied to you. I'm going to look around just a tiny bit more and see if we can find anything Okay, so we've got iron and aluminum. It doesn't look like we're going to find helium-3, and again, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here looking for it. I'm going to look for a flattish spot around here. Looks like aluminum is... We're going to be right on the edge between iron and aluminum, it looks like. Aluminum's out this way, but iron is to our right, it looks like. So, yes, we're going to be not at a great spot to find all of them here. So we're probably going to be limited on how many extractors we'll be able to place. But again, we're just illustrating this. So right up here looks like as best we're going to do. So I'm going to place an outpost. Now once you place an outpost, this does not cost any resources. When you place it, you can immediately hit V to toggle your view. That's going to take you to an overhead view of your outpost. Okay, and you can zoom out, and now you can you can see that the extractors that are lit up are alkanes, aluminum, beryllium, and iron. If you don't see your extractor in this list, then it's that mineral is not here to be able to be extracted. It may have shown it on your outpost list, but when you get in here, you don't have enough physical space to place an extractor on top of it. So you can get into situations like that. Just be prepared. So for iron, now what you do, and you can see the build limit. This is the limit of how far out your outpost can be built. And here, just like I thought, we're right on the edge of the iron. Now, when you place an extractor, you have a circle around that extractor. You don't want you cannot place an extractor on top of where the circle overlaps another extractor. So in other words, if I'm placing one here, then the nearest one that I can place it is outside of that reddish border down there, showing the circle around the extractor. So I'm really only probably going to be able to place 2 iron extractors here. One down here and another one up here. All right, so then aluminum, that's probably on the other side of this somewhere. Yep, right here. So see here, I can probably only get, again, 2 extractors. That's not ideal. You normally want 3 to 4 extractors inside of your location. So here we just got unlucky that we have aluminum on one side, iron on the exact opposite side. So we can't move our outpost to the left to pick up more iron, because then the aluminum would be outside of our outpost limit. So we're going to be, this location here is not ideal, but again, I don't care. I am just going to utilize this to illustrate the concept of how to get an outpost down and how to start leveling it up, or how to start leveling yourself up using the outpost. So now you can see in the upper left hand corner that there are build requirements, and this is what I meant by not leaving all of your stuff inside your ship. All of the resources that you brought with you that are on your ship are available to you when you're out here, so you don't have to bring them out here with you, right? So what I'm going to do, and you can see this thing will change colors when you can and cannot place it. So I'm going to place it as far down here in this corner as I can to leave as much space at the upper corner as I can to place a second extractor. So then all you do for aluminum is build. Okay, they require power. We'll deal with that here in a second. And now you can see that this extractor's red. And that's because the circle down there overlaps the other extractor. You have to get it a certain distance away before you can place your next one. So I'm just going to place my second one here. I'm going to go to iron. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do the same thing. So I can put one extractor here. The second one I can place up here. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get a third in this. Well, maybe I can. Okay, so I can get a third one here. Let's go see if I can get a third aluminum placed somewhere. I think I'm going to have to go into modify mode first and delete that other extractor first. When you delete it, you get the resources back. So feel free to get rid of them. I don't think I'm going to be able to. See up there in the corner? That would just barely... There would be like a pixel there if I'm going to be allowed to do it. Okay, so it does let me put it in. So I got 3, that's not bad. I'm not going to worry about beryllium yet, but you can certainly set up extractors here to extract beryllium. Most of the items that you're going to find here that are your uncommon, rare, or exotic have pretty big zones of minerals available to them. And beryllium, there's actually 2. And you can see how big these are. So you could mine up a lot of beryllium here. Now, we do need beryllium, but we bought it all, that we need for this, so we don't have to set up extractors for it. So now we need power, and down there in the bottom, you can see it says needed power, and it says 30. We don't have any power yet. So up at the top, you can see the Z and the C is going to allow you to change to different types of structures that you can build. The next thing on our list is power. Solar arrays, if you look over in the upper left-hand corner, produce 6 power. Fuel generators provide 20 power, but they need helium-3. You can see there in the upper left-hand corner, operating cost. They need helium-3 to run. If you don't have helium-3 inside your outpost and you're not extracting it and storing it, or if you don't have it, if you're not having it shipped in from off-world, then you're not going to be able to use a fuel generator to do what you want. You have wind turbines that do 3 power. These are good when you have a planet that has a thick atmosphere and doesn't let a lot of sun through. One of the other reasons that I chose Linnaeus is because it has a thin atmosphere, which means that solar arrays work well here because they receive a lot of sunlight. So now you can place these anywhere you want. You don't have to use wires to hook these up or anything like that. You just put them anywhere inside your outpost and you're good. All right, so I'm just going to start putting them here on either side of my beacon. So I'm going to drop one down. I'm going to move over here to the side a little bit and just keep dropping them down. So that there gets me 30 power. I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway here and just drop another one. So you can see at the bottom I have 36 total power now. And I need 30 or the number of extractors that I currently have placed. The more extractors you place, the more power you're going to need. And that's why if you find a really good outpost that has iron, aluminum, helium-3, terbium, or something like that also, as well as maybe water or something else, you may have a bunch of extractors. You're going to need more solar arrays to be able to power it, or more wind turbines or more fuel generators to be able to power it. Also, certain things that you build are going to require power, and you will see those in the list if it requires power, but I think for the most part it's just the extractors that need power. Okay, so now we've got our power systems in place and our extractors are now running, but those extractors don't have anywhere to store the materials. There is a little bit of storage inside each extractor, but now we need a place for those materials to congregate to. And for that, you need storage. Now, what type of storage do you need? You can see that there's solid, liquid, gas, and there's something called a transfer container, which we're not going to get into today. Solids, and the easiest way to find out which one you need is to go to your extractors. So if you look in the upper left-hand corner, at the bottom it says produces, and it says it produces alkanes, and it has a little cloud symbol. That's the gas symbol. The aluminum extractor produces aluminum, and it has a little cube. That is the solid storage symbol. And then water vapor, the water extractor, has a dewdrop, and that is the liquid material. So depending upon what type of extractors you have, you may need solid, liquid, or gas storage to store the individual materials. Now, we're only using iron and aluminum extractors here right now, so we only need solid storage. And that's it. Now, with solid storage, or with any storage, I should say, leave yourself room to expand, because right now we only have this one type of storage crate. As you start putting points into Outpost engineering, you're going to open up different storage crates that have higher storage capacities, and you want to be able to expand onto your storage as you go. So whatever location you're going to put your storage down in, and again, it can be anywhere. It doesn't have to be, you know, over here near the extractors or anything like that. It can be anywhere in here. Just leave yourself some room to expand. So I normally kind of like to go in a little circle around to just make sure that it doesn't turn red anywhere, that it stays there. So I'm just going to put a group of storage for my iron extractors somewhere over here. And I'm going to start here, and I'm going to leave myself expansion this way and this way. I'm just going to drop a storage here. And now as you move around, your storages are going to snap to each other. Okay? You're going to snap to the left and to the right and to the top. You won't do that much from this view, but you will not snap to the bottom. See, it will snap over to the right. It will not snap to this side. It only is going to snap to the left and the right. Keep that in mind when you're laying out your storage. All right, so I'm just going to build here, and I'm going to keep an eye right now. The iron and the adaptive frame, or the adaptive frames, are the limiting thing. I want to be able to build more adaptive frames. For that, I need both iron and aluminum, so I want to make sure I have storage for both iron and aluminum before I run out. So right now, I can build 4 more storages, or 3 more storages, before I run out of adaptive frames. So I'm going to put a second storage for iron here. And now I'm going to go over and put storage for aluminum. And again, I'm just checking to make sure I don't run into anything, and I'm going to put my first storage here. And there it snapped to the top. But I'm going to put my second one here. And now I've got storage, extractors, and power. However, I'm going to need something to be able to craft the adaptive frames, which you can see I'm out of. I can't build any more storage right now. To do that, you need an industrial workbench. Now, you can just place this industrial workbench out here outside. You can put it out here, you can craft on it all day long without a problem. So feel free to do that. I tend to be a little bit more buildery, I guess, than that. And why did I miscount how much lead I needed? I did. I just completely miscounted how much lead I need. Okay. Interesting. I guess I will use... All I can post is the hydroponic hab, which I guess isn't bad. I normally craft the military hab. For some reason, I just only brought 2 lead instead of 4. So I'm going to craft the hydroponic hab here. But what I normally do is I craft the airlock first. There's a reason for that. In that, as you look around this, you're not able in this menu to move things up or down from an elevation perspective. You're just allowed to put them somewhere and it snaps them to the ground. The airlock, you can see, depending upon where you put it, you can see how the stairs on the front get different. They're more clipped into the ground at certain locations. So what I normally try and do is leave space for where I want the hab to be. So say I want my hab to be right here, approximately, and then I build my outpost down a little bit here. And this is... Oh, I forgot the lead for the military hab. I brought the lead for the airlock. I just didn't bring the lead for the military hab. That's where I messed it up. So I'm going to be short on sealant though too. I didn't bring the other sealant. So I can't craft both of these. And one is useless without the other. So I'm just going to go ahead and place the outpost airlock. I'm going to have to just put my stuff outside for now, which I didn't want to do. Okay, so now that I've placed it, now you can adjust your height using the W and the S keys. So see, now you can see how the stairs kind of adjust, right? They clip more up out of the ground the higher you make it. And this thing will keep going up until it doesn't have any more height. And you can see at the bottom that there's a stair railing down there at the bottom. Okay, so here with the stairs, it looks like the stairs are just going to clip into the ground. So any way I put this, the stairs are just going to be clipped into the ground. So I just want it to look somewhat okay. So now I'm going to confirm my airlock here. And again, this is pointless because I can't build a hab to go with it because I forgot the additional lead and sealant. So my normal planning to put the industrial workbench inside of it, inside of a hab, is not going to work. So I'm just going to go and put my industrial workbench down out here for now. Now the second thing that I want to do is to build a bed out here. You can build whatever bed you want. All of the different types of beds that you have all have the same material requirements, so it doesn't really matter which one you build. Okay. Now, the last thing that you want to consider here is your ship. And you now have a waypoint here for your outpost, so you can fast travel to it all you want. However, you will want to put in a landing pad with shipbuilder for the most part. You can put in a landing pad that's, you know, just a place for your ship to land if you want. The landing pad with shipbuilder, however, gets you the ability to modify your ship based upon the materials that you have stored in your outpost. So especially if you have helium-3 and that sort of stuff, you gain a slight boost in jump range to your ship by having an outpost that has helium-3 in it. And you can take advantage of that by putting in a landing pad or a landing pad with shipbuilder. I normally do this one. It takes up a lot of space to do it, but you can put it right out on the edge of your stuff, and build your outpost kind of over where the stairs are. Or you can move this thing right into here and place it, you know, fairly close to where your airlock is and that sort of stuff. You're going to get an option once you place it to be able to raise it up and down and that sort of stuff, but it's a great addition to any outpost. For now, however, I don't need it. What I need to do is start improving this outpost. I have everything I need to get it up and running. Okay, so my extractors, you can see, are vibrating. Oh, one more thing I need to do. Now, we'll talk about that here in a second. So, my extractors, you can see that they're moving. They have power. If you come up to them, you can see that they have 17 iron in them right now. However, if you look at the side of our storage, you can see it's 0%. They're not filling up. That is because once you've placed the storage, you have to link them to the particular extractors that you want to be stored in them. So an easy way to do that is here, and now if you go to modify mode, you can click on an extractor here, and you can, at the bottom it says create output link using mouse 1. So if I just click my mouse, then I click on a storage, that one or that one, I can link it to it. You want to link your extractors to the first storage unit in your string. So if I'm going to build from left to right, then this is the first one in the string. Then all the additional storage units are going to be coming out this way. Here, the extractors here, if I'm going to build from right to left, then my first extractor in the string is here. And there's a reason for that. So I'm going to take all of these extractors and I'm going to link them to this first storage box here. Okay. So now I can go to the next one. Create output link. Do the same thing. And now over here, I'm going to build these from right to left. So I'm going to link these to this first one here. All right, and now the next thing you need to do is better done on the ground in this view here. We're going to head over to our iron extractors. And now we should see that storage start filling up. You can see the links here. And now this first one you see, it's 46% full. But the next one in line is still 0% full. You need to link your cargo your storages together. The order in which you link them is the order in which the materials are going to go. So if I link from this one to this one, the materials are going to fill up first here. Once this is full, they're going to overflow into this one. Then if I build a new one here, I can link this one to that. This one will then overflow into the next one, and so on down the line. That's why you don't want to link all of these to this one and then start building more storages this way, because this one would never get any storage, because you can only output link to one other storage unit. You can't link this one to one here and to another one here. As soon as you create the second link, it overrides and deletes the first one. Right, so here you need to create an output link from this storage one to this one here. And that's exactly what it says. Incoming items will fill up the storage container at the end of the chain first. So now you can see what it's doing. Look what it's doing. It's transferring them all over there. It's going to start filling this one up. Once you build a new one here and you link it, all of the stuff here is going to transfer into it, and so on down the line. Okay, so it doesn't overflow from the first one it goes in here. It fills up the end one first. If you keep building new end ones, it just fills up all the way down the line. Okay, so now we're going to go over here to the other side. Do the exact same thing for aluminum. So here we'll click on the first one, create output link. Go over to the next one here, and the ones that are available to create a link to are going to be highlighted in blue. We only have one here, so it's easy. Create output link, and now you can see the storage moving over. Okay, so now we can sit here and wait a while, and these things will slowly increase in number. However, that's a waste of time. And this is why you pick a planet that has a good time dilation. If I sleep here, you can see here on Linnaeus you get almost 8 hours. Now, again, Bessel 3 has something like 57 3/4 hours. So you'd have to rest a lot less on Bessel. However, all of those YouTube videos show like hundreds of storage crates. I never get that many. I normally end up with like 20 or so storage crates, and I can fill all of those storage crates just by sleeping one time here. So again, this is not the uber end-all be-all outpost. This is just something to help you level up. So I'm just going to sleep for 1 hour and see how much it fills up. My storage is here. So it completely filled up this one, and it's starting to work on this one. So let's go over and check our iron. Okay, so we're at the same thing. It filled this one up completely, and it's just started filling this. So now we'll go back and rest another hour, and this is just to see how long you need to rest to fill up your storages. That's all you're doing here. Okay, now iron normally fills up faster than aluminum does. So this filled up just over half. and iron filled up almost 2/3. So the aluminum, again, like we've said, is going to be our less abundant resource. So it looks like to fill these up, we need to sleep for a total of 4 hours if we completely empty them out. So now if we go over to aluminum, you can see it's green. So they are both 100% full. So now that you have materials, you can craft. And we're going to craft adaptive frames. And then we're going to use those adaptive frames to craft more storage. So here at the industrial workbench, there's also something else to realize. Under your status, because you rested at that bed, which is yours, you get the well-rested bonus for 30 minutes. So you get a 10% XP gain for everything that you craft after resting here. And that's why it's good to have a bed, is for that 10% bonus. If you have a romance interest in the game already, and they are with you, then when you rest in this bed, you're going to get the, I believe it's called the Lover's Comfort, or Lover's Embrace bonus, which is a 15% bonus that, again, applies to your crafting. So if you've done that portion of it, then make sure that they're with you so that you can get that additional XP bonus. So now here you can see that we have 306 iron and 361 aluminum available to us. Out of all the things we can craft reactive gauges, but that uses copper that's in our ship. We can craft tau grade rheostats, but again, that uses copper and beryllium. We're not mining those here. The only thing that we can craft that we are mining here is adaptive frames, iron and aluminum. So now what you want to do is start crafting these. The first thing to do is with your mouse, and this is again an advantage of PC versus console, you can hit the craft key, E, or you can just click on it, and right down here, if you click at this end of the bar, it will craft 99 of them. Okay, so now if you hit E to confirm, your mouse is still on the adaptive frame section. So now you can just hit E, click your mouse, hit E. Okay, and you can repeat that over and over and over again until you run out of materials. So E, click E, until you run out of materials. Right now, then you can rest some more, but we don't necessarily want to do that. We want to add more storage, because the only thing that we were short on to build more storage was adaptive frames. And we have a bunch of adaptive frames right now. So, oh, we got rid of iron. That's my fault. We crafted all of our stuff with iron. So we do need to rest just to get some iron back. So I'm just going to rest for an hour here. Now I should have gotten some iron back. So I have 78 iron now. So now I can just build. I can start building up if I would like. And some of this building is easier done when you're on the ground. I'm going to build 10 on each of these. Okay, so we're going to toggle our view and walk over here. Make this a bit easier to place this one. Okay, and again, that's my oxygen running out, but I don't really care. So now here, then I'm going to change into modify mode. And now I'm going to create my output links again. So if you're going to double stack your containers, then you need to kind of run them in a zigzag pattern. So here, this one was connected to this one, but then I would have to go all the way down and then up and all the way back, and now I can't expand out that way anymore. So here, I'm going to create an output link and go to this one. I'm going to go from this one to this one. And now I'm going to zigzag this. And now this is the last one in line, so when I start building a second row, I can put another stack of 2 here, and I can connect this one to the new one, then that one down to the bottom. Then when I build the next row, I can zigzag it up and down as we go. So that's what I meant by connecting them all together in a way that gives you expansion of your storage. So we're going to go over here and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go back into build mode. And we're just going to place these down. Okay, so we're still a little bit short on iron here for our last one. That's not a problem. And again, I don't worry about your oxygen running out and taking health damage. That's not a big deal. And then here, that's where we want to go. Then we're going to modify, and now we're going to create our output links again. So here, here. Just like that. And now I'm going to rest, and I'm going to let all of this stuff fill up. So I'm just going to rest 8 local hours, which is 62 hours time here, and see how much of that fills up during that time. Now, my personal outpost, like I say, I have quite a few more iron extractors and aluminum extractors, because of the locations of those things inside of the outpost. But here you can see all of these. Once that goes away, you can see they are all filled up to 100%. Okay, so that's iron. So aluminum has filled up everything, but it's just started to work on the final one. So we're at 86% here. So it has just started to work on this last one here. So 9 hours of total rest should fill these all up from scratch. So if I just rest one more time, and this is again why you don't have to worry about your oxygen running out, because every time you rest, it completely refills your health. Now inside here, you can see we have over 1,000 each of iron and aluminum. So again, E, find where your mouse goes to click 99. E. E, click E, E, click E, and just keep doing that. And you watch the upper right-hand corner. Until you run out. And you can see the XP bar in the middle keeps going up. So once you've done it, sleep again, and you repeat the process. And that's all you have to do to keep leveling up. So a couple of things to remember about this is we're going to take off here real quick. I'm going to do this one more time. And okay, so they looked red from far away, just took them a while to render. So those are all in, and you can see how fast my health goes down now because of how much weight I'm carrying. So it looks like this filled up to 51, so it looks like you need 10 hours here to fill up all of them. So now I'm going to do one more round of crafting here. There's a level. And we're 40% of the way to the next level. Okay? And that is the basis of how you increase your skill points. It literally takes you only a few minutes to go through and get a level up to get a skill point to add into increasing spacesuit design, which we're going for, but also outpost engineering. So outpost engineering lets you construct improved modules, and then superior modules, and then cutting edge modules. You don't necessarily need to unlock level 4 unless you're really going to go hardcore into outpost building. As you increase these other modules, you can improve your storage, and you can also improve your extractors by adding commercial and industrial grade versions of those extractors. So right now, I can only fit 3 extractors on each of those resource nodes. Since I'm limited to 3, I can't just build more regular extractors to extract more. The only way I can get these things to produce resources faster is by upgrading them to higher versions. Now, those higher versions require more power, so they are not useful compared to a regular grade extractor 1-for-1. What I mean is 2 regular extractors perform better than 1 commercial extractor. Okay? The difference is that when you don't have room to build a bunch of regular extractors, then upgrading to commercial and then industrial extractors helps you do that, helps you extract resources faster simply because you don't have any more room to build anything. So for us, we can unlock this skill. Now we need to build 5 different outpost modules to upgrade to rank 2. And this is why it's better that I should have unlocked this before I came here, because we've already crafted 5 different outpost modules. We have 2 different extractors, we have storage, we have our solar arrays, and we have our airlock. So we would have already been able to upgrade to the next level. Okay? And I just realized something. I'm going to have to hope I can build a ship pad. This is something I should have thought about earlier, and I kind of glossed over it before I started crafting. Okay, so I can't craft it. I'm only out of iron. Not a problem. Let's rest, get some more iron. And build that small ship pad. We'll end up removing it later. Actually, that's not going to matter. That's right, that's not going to matter. Don't do what I did, chat. You need a place to bring your ship over before you start crafting. The reason for that is I have 2,900 adaptive frames in my inventory. I can't fast travel. You can look at my mass. I'm severely overloaded. So I cannot fast travel to my ship. And because of that, I can't fast travel to my ship and then bring it back to my outpost for me then to walk onto that ship when I'm overloaded and fly it somewhere to be able to sell these off. I don't have that option. So the only option that I have here is to drop these, and I'm really anxious to see what Bethesda Physics does with this. Okay, good. So it dropped them in a group of 2,800, which is great. Because now I can go back into build mode. Actually, I don't have to. Let's take off and go pick up our other stuff. If those disappear, I don't care. So there's the Star Eagle there. So we're going to head back and we're going to pick up more sealant and more titanium. And this is what I meant by the landing areas and that sort of stuff. So we landed once, didn't find anything there. We landed again, didn't find anything right where our ship was, and we walked away quite a ways and set up our outpost. So now we have all these markers, and you can't get rid of them. That's something that's been complained about on the forums quite a bit, so hopefully we'll be able to get rid of these waypoint markers at some point, but for now you can't. Yeah, I'm going to head back and pick up... Yeah, you're right. I need 4 lead, titanium. At this point, I'm just going to head back and just pick up a bunch of all of them that I need. So we're going to land back here at the Mass District. We're going to go over to UC Distribution. We're going to pick up the last of these items, and then we're going to head back. Oh, why did I go around this way?
The Free Star Collective has no place.
UC distribution's over there.
They are our future tomorrow. Submit your application at the nearest.
Hello.
Okay, and we're looking for more sealant, lead, and titanium in here.
I'm afraid, due to recent legislative action, I'm no longer able to allocate ships. I can, however,
And I want
deal
to
in
build
general
this
goods.
because,
Welcome to UC
again,
Distribution. Something
well,
I
I'll
can do
explain
for
that
you?
when I get there. I guess I don't want to spoil it here.
Oh, well, certainly.
But the last thing that you want to do is kind of what I'm about to show you. So we need lead. Just going to buy all of it. Don't care if we have extra. I need more titanium. And I need more sealant.
You're always welcome back, if you don't mind a bit of a...
Okay, and now I can head right back to my outpost. And land directly at my outpost. And now, while I was gone, you can see the travel time matters because my materials have filled up again. So I'm ready to craft again. I'm anxious to see. So the adaptive frames are still here, which is perfectly fine. Now what I'm going to do is build a hab. Okay, and the first thing that Okay, I guess I could build the hydroponic hab. It does look kind of cool with all the glass walls everywhere. But your habs that you build are going to snap to your airlock. So you see, once you get close enough, it's going to snap and create a connection to your airlock. Okay? The only difference between these is really what the walls are. The science hab, there's no windows in it. The military hab has windows on this side. It also has the ability to, on the sides here, to create windows in them. So you can rotate your hab so that it connects on the back. I guess the hydroponic hab would be kind of cool looking to put my stuff in it. It's just got windows all the way around it. That's really the only differences between them. So it still needs just iron, aluminum, and sealant, so we're perfectly fine to create this. So I'm just going to build it here. Okay, and then you can see you can build more habs next to these, and they will snap together if it's possible. Now in this location here, probably because of height limitations, it's not going to want to snap together over here. And this is why I created my outpost and my airlock and raised it up a little bit. And yes, you can. You'll see that as we go. That rank 1 unlocked hydroponic hab B. There used to only be one of each of these. It unlocked hydroponic hab B, which you can see is slightly different in how it looks. It doesn't have the sloped walls. So the 4-wall hab double is unlocked, and that doubles the amount of space that you have inside of a 4-wall hab. So just unlocking that level there allows you to craft new things here. So the hab round is going to have a hydroponic hab round that goes along with it. You can create much larger versions of some of these things as you want. But for this outpost, I don't need a bunch of space. All I need is one. That is all I need. So I'm going to toggle my view here, and I'm going to pick up my, and I'm going to go to modify mode. I'm going to pick up my industrial workbench. It's on move. You can walk in here. And you can place this down. Then I can walk inside here and click open. It's going to cycle the airlock. Now I can pick this back up. If I can get around it. Let's just move it in there real quick and move it out of the way. And now I can put this somewhere. Doesn't matter where. I'm just going to place it down. And again, this is the same type of thing that we talked about previously. It's not going to line up exactly with anything, so you can use your mouse to rotate it. And try and get it to line up with something, but it never really works very well. So looks like this is about as good as I can get it. So I'm just going to drop it. I'm going to go back outside. I'm going to pick up my bed. Now, alternately, you can just delete the bed and the workbench. And I'll kind of illustrate that here. If you hover over it, you can see there's a delete. You have to hold R. You're going to get the materials back for it. Now, inside here, I'm going to set up 3 beds. Not just 2. And again, simple beds. And I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I talked about when we were in the furnishing our apartment thing. I'm going to line this up, change beds, and now it should be lined up fairly good. Yes, that's lined up pretty good. And now I'm going to put 3 beds in here. And actually, I wanted it to be this way. So I'm going to line this up again. And if you missed what I was doing when I explained this about furnishings, look at the brown box that outlines build, track, rotate, toggle view variants down at the bottom. The upper edge of that box, I'm going to line it up with a straight line. And in this case, I'm going to use the joint in between the floor here. And I'm going to line it up so that that line in the floor lines up with that box. And now if I select a different bed and come back to it, that bed automatically aligns with my camera view, which means it's now lined up with that line on the floor. And now no matter where I go, it's lined up how I need it to be. So that's how I line things up inside of Habs. So I'm going to put a bed here. Now I do the same thing again. Line it up. Put another bed here. Whoops. Entirely my fault. I needed the E key there, not the mouse 1 key. You have to kind of watch your key binds here. Build, and then next thing here. Line it up. Okay, need the pillows going the same way. Sorry, this is my undiagnosed OCD kicking in here. There we go. And I'll place my last one. This is just inside. Something like here. Okay, now why did I go through all of that? That's weird. That one didn't place right. I'm going to have to fix that. That one didn't place right. I don't know why, but we're going to move it. Okay. That placed right. Okay, and now the reason for this I have some crew. Lynn and Heller are really good at outpost management and outpost engineering. If I assign them to this outpost, I'm going to get the benefits of their skills at this outpost. So Heller being assigned here means that even if I don't have any additional skills, I'm going to be able to create better outpost modules. Outpost management means that my extractors are going to produce materials faster. So I'm going to assign Heller okay. No, I don't want to assign them there. It's not listing my outpost here. Let's go take off and come back real quick and see if that resets. And see if it now knows that I have an outpost that I can assign them to.
Orbital insertion complete. Now move.
Okay, so it doesn't show them here.
Freely about the cabin.
Oh, I wonder. That might be it. I might need to get the last set of materials here because my ship was not landed at my outpost You saw my ship was... I don't have a landing pad at my outpost. So that might be why I'm not able to assign them theirs, because I was not landed at my outpost. So I need 0 wire for that to get the shipbuilder version of it. And I have 0 wire in the lodge. I also need adaptive frames for that, but I've got a few thousand sitting on the ground. So 0 wire. I only need 2 of these, I think. And it just needs iron adaptive frames, and I think that's it. Oh, and beryllium, I believe, but I think we already have that. So let's head back real quick. And this always happens. It doesn't matter how well you plan things out, you're always going to be short on some things. Just trust me, it's how it always works. So let's build. Let's go pick up this small chunk of adaptive frames first, if they're still here. If they're not, I'll just craft more. They are. So this is the small group. And let's... There it is. We're going to craft the ship landing pad with shipbuilder. So we're going to toggle our view. And now we can put this wherever we want. Okay, I normally like to put it so it's somewhat close to my outpost, because I don't need anything else here at this outpost. I'm not going to be... There are no extractors. I could get alkanes, but again, I could put alkane extractors up here. Beryllium is not down here where this pad would go. Beryllium's over here. So there shouldn't be any problem putting this down right around in here. I do want to leave space for more boxes up here. And more boxes from that one. So I think I'll just put it like right here. And again, you're going to get an option here when you place it. Okay, so here's our shipbuilder, or our landing pad. You can see it's a pretty big thing. This isn't too bad. It's not clipped into the ground too bad. So now I'm going to drop the rest of these adaptive frames because I am still encumbered now. Going to fast travel back to my ship. And now I'm going to land at my outpost. You can stack storage boxes all the way up. And what I mean by that is I can show you here in a second. Where is my ship at? It just doesn't want to fast travel here. This is going to upset me if, for some reason, those two landing pads were so close that it's never going to default me to my landing pad that I just built. I'm hoping going to orbit and coming back and landing again will fix that. But you can actually use storage crates to make walls around your outpost. So they can go pretty high. And the other thing about them is that... Okay, now my ship is here. The other thing about them is that when you stack them up, if you delete the bottom one here, it knows that there's a storage on top of it. It's not going to let this thing just float in midair. It creates an indestructible block, support block here underneath of it. It's very useful, especially on your home base where you might have a lot of value and it's more likely to get attacked by pirates. That they can destroy storage, but they can't destroy those indestructible blocks underneath them. So a very popular way to protect your base is to create 5 or 6 high so that they can't boost pack up it, and then delete all of the storage crates below it to create an impenetrable wall around it. But you can go up quite high with stacking these. I've seen them 10 or 12, I believe, up in the air in some people's builds. There are some pretty amazing builds on YouTube, so feel free to go check it out. So now my ship is here. There's a ship builder right here. So you can view and modify ships right here. So if you want to add new modules, you can go into the ship builder here and add new modules. All of the regular modules in the game are available at this ship builder. The only ones that aren't are the special ones that are only available in certain specific spaceports. That's why having the ship builder here is great, because you can bring your ship here and modify it in with any of the regular modules, or build your ship from scratch with any of the regular modules here, and then take off with it and fly it to a specific spaceport if you want a particular item that you can only get in one location. So that's the good thing about having the ship builder available to you, is it allows you to put on all of the regular modules that you have access to in one location. Okay, so now I'm going to see if I can transfer my crew. Let me see if I need to assign them here first. It's still not listing my outpost here. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. I don't think you have to have workstations for them. I mean, that was my only other thing that I just thought of right before you typed that, Em, is maybe I need workstations. And, oh, I need crew stations. Right there. Yes. That's what it was. And I definitely don't want to put that in here. I'm going to build 2 of these. Actually, I'm not going to build any of these. Now that I'm here, I'm going to open this up and build 2 crew stations on the other side of the room over here. That's what was different about my other one. So I'm going to, again, line this up. Okay, put the crew stations in. There. And there. Okay, so now I can assign them. That was my fault. Might as well repair my ship while I'm here. Yes. Okay, so now they are both assigned here. And you are going to see them walking around here. They are going to... you'll see them when I sleep here in a second. But now if we go back in here to build, and we toggle our view again, and we go to build mode, now in our storage, you can see we still have only our solid storage that's available to us. But we're going to pick up all our adaptive frames again. Super overloaded. Go in here and sleep. And when we wake up, we should see Heller and Lynn walking around. If it's nighttime, they're going to be in this room with us. Okay, so they must just be still walking around out somewhere out there. But you will be able to see them. And again, craft, find out where your cursor hits. Okay, just like that, leveled up again. And that is how you utilize your outpost to level up. Now again, if you look for other content creators' YouTube videos, you can see other ways to maximize this. And what I mean by that is that right now, the amount of XP that you get is based upon the value of the item that you are crafting. So you can see that microcells are a huge value, but there's a huge amount of materials and crafting steps that have to go in to making these things. You have to craft one of each of these, and those all require different things that can be crafted in your assemblers, your factories. So the next best thing is the comm relays, and this tends to be the one that most people focus on. You need a Tau grade rheostat and an ISO-centered magnet for each one. ISO-centered magnet needs cobalt and nickel, and your Tau grade rheostat needs copper and beryllium. So if you get a planet or multiple planets, because there isn't one planet that has all of those things on it, you can have those planets shuttling those materials to one location. That one location you can set up an assembler that will craft copper and beryllium into Tau grade rheostats, export that to a storage afterward. You can have another set or another crafter, which is going to be crafting cobalt and nickel into isocentered magnets and outputting those to a storage, and then you can have a third fabricator which is making comm relays out of those. Or you will, not a third one, you will be making comm-centered relays utilizing Tau grade rheostats and isocentered magnets that are being crafted for you. And that earns you 4 times the XP per craft that crafting an adaptive frame does. And that's kind of what I can quickly explain, but I'm not going to go too in depth into it because, again, other content creators have put together some really, like I say, it's clickbaity headlines because of all the work it takes to do it, and you should see some of the crafting matrices they have to explain them. But what you need to do is in here, in the miscellaneous section, you have a cargo link. Okay? Cargo links are utilized to take an incoming resource and ship it out to another outpost. Now, a cargo link has a couple of different parts to it. It's got an incoming. You can see there are 2 crates kind of at the back there. It's got an incoming, it's got an outgoing, and then on the interstellar cargo link, it also has an incoming for helium-3. This cargo link only works in system. So inside the Linnaeus system, I can use a cargo link to have things in my storage go into one of those crates on the back, and then the ship will take it. A ship will land, pick it up, and take it to a nearby outpost on the same planet or on a different planet in the same system. And I can use the incoming crate to deliver things from another outpost to this pad, and then export it from there into storage units. So what you do is, say for instance you have cobalt and nickel or something at this outpost, you can put up 2 different cargo links, export them, You don't have to use 2 different cargo links. You can do it in one. It's just slower. You can set up 2 different cargo links to export those 2 things to a different outpost and get put into storage there. Then you can go to a different planet in this system and get the other 2 things, beryllium and whatever it was, at a separate outpost. Use the cargo links there to ship those to that same outpost. And now you have all of your crafting materials in a single outpost. And you can use all of those things to craft inside that outpost. So ships will land here, take off, and send the things to the other outpost and vice versa. Now, the interstellar cargo link, which you need to have outpost engineering levels in to be able to utilize it. Once you unlock it, you have to pump helium-3 into it, because helium-3 is what is used to travel between star systems. So that's why having a base that has helium-3 in it is so useful, because then you can just use the extractors and have the extractors sending the stuff directly into the interstellar cargo link, and that will enable you to see that link anywhere in the galaxy. So cargo links are for interplanetary or around the same planet shipping. Interstellar cargo links, which I don't have unlocked here yet, are what are used to transfer materials to different star systems. Okay, and that's what becomes, in some of these crafts that are opened up and unlocked, you may have 5 different outposts on 5 different planets collecting materials, sending all of those resources to different places, crafting them together at certain locations, and outputting all of that stuff to a final assembly base that has all of the materials that you need to craft what you need. Yeah, my personal playthrough, I have a leveling up outpost on Linnaeus here. I also have a personal outpost that I built. However, to be truthful, the base building stuff in the game here I find to be a little underwhelming, in that if you go back to the end of the UC Vanguard questline, we were given a penthouse inside at Jemison. That penthouse is great, and it has more than enough space to put in any of these furniture items, decorations, displays, and that sort of stuff that you would want. You don't need to defend it from pirates as its value goes up, so you don't need any defenses. All of these workbenches and cooking stations fit inside of that penthouse with no problem, all in the same room. Actually, I had a dedicated crafting room that has all of these things in it. You don't need to craft any of these things, which really would be just for additional space, because there's more than enough space in the penthouse, and you don't have to worry about any of these extractors or any of this other sort of stuff. So I find that the personal outpost I built, it's really big, it looks kind of cool, but there's just way too much space. And I don't need that much space to fill it all up. And it just turned out to be a little bit of a disappointment, I guess. There's so much stuff you can do with all of these different tabs and the different types you can get and all of that sort of stuff. But honestly, there's just too much space. I mean, I could fit everything I needed in my personal outpost in that one hex hab right there. And I was like, well, what do I do now? So it's a little odd, actually, when you look at it, when you build your base, that you just find that you don't really need it as much, I guess. So in my personal playthrough, I built one, but it's not really used for anything. It just sits there and it's okay, but that's about it. Everything really goes in my apartment. So now, before we end the stream today, let's talk about a couple of things. So first, we've got 2 skill points left. So we can unlock rank 1 of our spacesuit design, and that's going to ask us... Yeah, honestly, the most useful thing for outpost building is to be able to level up by crafting. I don't, like I say, people who get really into the weeds on building a custom outpost, protecting it, adding defenses to it, adding different types of habs, and adding 1,000 different pieces of furniture and decorations and all that sort of stuff. You could make some really, really cool stuff. It just takes a long time to do it. I spent a stupid amount of hours just building my personal outpost, let alone furnishing the thing by putting stuff on the walls and paintings and plants and all sorts of other stuff. And then I just don't find that I need to use it for anything. None of the storage in your personal outpost is going to be infinite. You can build storage items in your outpost here. Storage crates and storage boxes. None of these hold infinite amount of supplies. None of them. So you can't just craft up, like I have, several thousand adaptive frames and just put tens on hundreds of thousands of them in a storage crate somewhere. It doesn't work. None of these are infinite. Unlike a bunch of the storage at the lodge, which is infinite. So what I end up doing is doing most of my crafting in the basement of the lodge. The penthouse is just a cool place to live and decorate that's pretty small, and I don't have to spend a whole lot of hours doing it, and my personal outpost serves no purpose whatsoever. And I craft at the lodge because those boxes can store infinite materials. And I don't have to... I mean, some of these storage boxes, even these storage crates, have ludicrously small amount of storage in them compared to what you have on hand as far as resources go and that sort of stuff. So I use the outpost for leveling. The penthouse is just a cool thing that I spent time decorating and looks good. And then the lodge is where I do most of my crafting. So a personal outpost, it turned out to be a waste of time. From my perspective, it's really good just for what we've talked about. So now you've got all of these adaptive frames. So what do you do with them? So the first thing is you need to be careful when you're climbing up to your landing pad, because you can fall through these, and if you fall from a high enough distance, you can take fall damage and die, because you're always at 10% health. So be careful of that. Once you get back on board your ship, then you can fast travel wherever you want. And again, if you haven't completed the Crix storyline or the Crimson Fleet storyline, selling items at Crix is a really good place to go, because of all of the vendors that are in a small location. However, you can also go back to Jemison and do it. You can go to the den and do it. However, you need to find some place that has a good time dilation in it so that you're not sitting there waiting for a full 48 hours for it to reset. The den is okay because the one vendor here has a whole lot of credits. It's got 11,000 credits that you can soak up, but it's not great from a time dilation standpoint. So when you go in here,
may I be of service? I hope we have what you need.
you can sell your adaptive frames here, and you can see that 4,000 adaptive frames is 12,000 credits. So you can get this down below 11,000. And you can sell those. You got 550 left, and at this point you're going to have to
If you're ever in New Atlantis,
sit and wait.
bring in a
And
word for
the
me?
den,
I don't think my messages to SSNN are getting through.
when you wait, it's 1-to-1. So you're going to have to wait through this countdown timer twice. That's why the den is not necessarily a great place to rest. However, the counterpoint to that being is that the vendor's really close to the landing spot. You don't have to try and run from a landing spot to get to a bunch of different vendors. But it's not necessarily the greatest spot to do it. The best thing to ever happen is if you get incredibly lucky and one of the randomly generated structures that is next to your outpost is an agricultural outpost. The agricultural outpost has a bartender in it, and that bartender can do the same thing. And you can, but all you have to do is walk over there or boost pack over there. If you get it within a couple 100 meters, that's a real easy trip to make even when you're overloaded. And now you're still sitting on a planet that uses 8 hours for every hour, so you only have to rest for 6 local hours and it resets their inventory. It's just that type of luck doesn't normally happen. It's very rare. So the time sink here is really in how long it's going to take you to sell your adaptive frames. That's really the deal here. But feel free to load up your inventory with hundreds of thousands of adaptive frames.
How may the trade of
And then you just spend an hour or so selling, redoing their inventory, and selling again, and you make a decent amount of credits out of this. I'm already up over 1 million credits, and I got 12,000 just on selling those. Okay. So that kind of explains the outpost leveling up process. And just to end the stream here, we will go back to Linnaeus and land at our outpost. This is the other thing about having an outpost on another planet, is there always is the possibility that you're going to jump into the planet and get jumped by pirates. So be aware of that when you're doing it. And that's another reason that makes like the Narian system. And there you can see Lynn and Heller. And now you see I've got the outpost engineering and outpost management buffs that popped up in the upper right hand corner. So now I am getting increased production out of my extractors. So now if I go rest, it's going to take a shorter amount of time to fill up all of those crates than it did previously, just because I'm getting a boost from that, from having Heller and Lynn assigned here. So with that, we're going to drop a save here. And I think that gets us to a good point to call the stream for today. So what I'll probably do off stream is do a bunch of level ups, get some skill points in the bank, and then we will start up next stream by going through the research mechanic and using resources to research mods for both our spacesuit and our weapons, and then applying those mods to our spacesuit and our weapons so that we can really start increasing the amount of damage that we can output and the damage that we can absorb on the back end of things. So we'll get into kind of the ultimate goal of what all of this was for in next week's episode, and then we'll probably continue on with the main quest line if we have any other time left in the stream next week. So on that note, as always, I'd like to thank everyone who was here tonight. I love the interaction that you all give during the chat. It's so great, and without you all being here, none of this would be possible. So again, this is Commander Jorval saying, until next time, fare thee well.